the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Alright folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome everybody, and welcome fellow patriots. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, AM/FM 24/7, WormRadio.net, LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com, and HighPlainsDailyNews.com. Wow, we're getting everywhere. And joining me today as my co-host is the Patriot from the Garden State, Anna Little. Anna, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Glad to be with you, Rick.
Glad to be with you, too, Anna. And you know, it's almost 5 years now that you and I have been working together here on Conservative Commandos.
And that's absolutely true. I found that on one of those Facebook memories that they pop up in your feed any given day. And I think I shared that with you, yes, that I had made a post that I agreed.
Right.
That was back in 2010. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was probably in the end of November, early December, you started as one of our co-hosts here?
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, 5 years. Gee, Anna, that's one of the longest relationships I've had with a woman in my life.
Well, I would say that your wife is probably your best and your longest.
Well,
right?
Yeah, she is. My mother. Okay.
Mother before that, I'm sure.
Then wife number one, that was 7-8 years or so. Then I had a couple of long-term relationships in there, 8 years, 6 years. So you might be about the 5th or 6th longest-term relationship I have had with a lady.
Well, how about that? I'm so glad to be on the list.
You're on the list, Anna. You're on the list. Anna, what's on your radar screen this day, my friend?
Well, the inevitable Donald Trump. You know, I listen. I understand what he means, Rick, in talking about these Muslims, but you know, you've got to watch his language because, frankly, the Republican Party is in an uproar, and all of the media attention is on Trump. And you know, I hate to say this, but we need a team player in the White House. We do not need a fella who's all about himself.
Well, what are you referring to? I mean, Donald Trump has said so many things over the past few months. What are you referring to?
Well, I'm referring to the fact that he says that, we should ban all Muslims. And I know that that's a mischaracterization of what he said. Mm-hmm. But it's the quote that's, or paraphrasing that's going around about banning Muslims from entering the United States. And I think screening, if they're from a certain country, if there's any kind of contact, it makes sense. I get
what about this, Anna? What if he said we're going to ban all Syrians?
I'm not sure you can limit what...
Well, I'll tell you where I'm going. It's interesting you should bring this up, because this is something that I saw today and reposted on my Facebook. Jimmy Carter, back in 1980, the Secretary of the Treasury, State, and the Attorney General will invalid all visas issued to Iranian citizens for the future entry into the United States affected today. We will not reissue visas, or will we issue new visas, except for compelling and providing human reasons, or where national interest of our country requires. This directive will be interpreted as very strict, apparently barring people from a terrorist country. It's not against our values after all, because this is something that Jimmy Carter did in 1980 when he put a moratorium on allowing people from Iran to come into our country.
Right, but I think the situation there was that our problem was directly with the Iranian government.
Well, the problem here, Anna, we don't know who our enemy is.
Right, so you can't ban someone.
Well,
identify them.
We've got to protect...
look, Chris, this is the difficulty we have, okay? We have got an enemy that transcends sovereign nations. It is an ideology that is espoused by people who are radicalized to violence, okay? The difficulty we have in identifying these folks is we have to look at behavior in order to figure out if they, number one, are
so shouldn't we be
violent, and we then have to look at behavior also to see, and rhetoric, to see whether or not they're adopting the ideology. You gotta
How do you do that, Anna?
In order to prove these are...
How do you do that? How do you look into a person's heart? How do you look into a person's brain?
You don't have to look into their heart. You've got freaking social media, Rick.
Well, that's one way they can lie on social media,
out there
too.
In the public venue. They've got to look at what's out there. The two that were caught in San Bernardino should never have been allowed in this country. And it's not because of a K-1 fiancé visa. It's because nobody Googled them. Nobody went on Twitter and figured out what they were saying.
And how about this idea? Let's protect ourselves first. Let's put America and Americans first.
Well, I agree
in
with
1980, this is something that Jimmy Carter did, 1979 and 80. He ordered 50,000 Iranian students in the U.S. to report to the immigration offices with the view of deportation. He found 7,000 were violating their visas, and around 15,000 Iranians were forced to leave the United States. This was Jimmy Carter. This was 1980. There's precedence for what Donald Trump is talking about. We can go back a little further. We can go back to 1942.
When identify the enemy like Jimmy Carter could, and we were not fighting a particular sovereign nation whose government has declared war against us. We are dealing with individuals who are radicalized. They are throughout. I mean, gosh, they're in our midst here in the United States. You can't even locate them right now. So what you have to do is you have to do a security check on everybody that goes in and out of this country. And
we don't have that many. We don't have that many employees in the. We don't have that many employees in the federal government to do that job,
I don't
Anna.
think that's true at all. When they wanted to look into conservatives, they got the job done. So that's baloney. They want to do it, they can do it. They did it to us. They can do it to these people.
Well, I say I fall on the side of let's be safe first. Let's secure our borders. Let's uphold our immigration laws. Let's suspend. People from Syria, Iran, Iraq do not have a right to come into this country. It is an honor and a privilege to be allowed to come into this country. I don't care if it's for an education. I don't care if it's to visit. I don't care if it's to shop in New York City. I don't care if it's to come here and become a citizen. They do not have a right to demand to come into this country. It is a privilege. What I'm saying is we suspend, how about this, Anna? We suspend visas from anyone to come into this country who has been to an Arab nation, except for present U.S. citizens.
Well, the only difficulty you have with that is if we're also letting the refugees in, because then they'll just...
No, I'm saying close the doors. Do not let these refugees in. What I believe is we should set up safe zones where they're living now, where they can go to, where they won't be, especially for Christians, where they won't be slaughtered by Muslims, where the Russians, the Americans, the French, the English won't be dropping bombs on their heads. Set up safe zones where they are now. Set up safe zones in neighboring countries if those neighboring countries want to take them in. Why bring them into Europe? Why bring them across the ocean into North America? We can keep them safe where they're at.
I do agree with that. I think that the safe zones in the vicinity of the, let's say, country of origin for these refugees would not only be more palatable to them, but it would also be safer for us.
Absolutely.
And there are a number of experts out there that are proposing that be the procedure for dealing with the refugee influx.
I say that's a great idea.
Identifying the enemy is a difficulty we have, and we need to do everything in our power to do so. What I want us to be careful of in candidates like Donald Trump is the language that they use. The language that Donald Trump uses gives the buzzword or the soundbite to the press to take to an extreme the message that he's trying to send.
Well, to me, the press,
very careful with
to me, the press has no credibility left at all. And with that, Anna, and for our listeners out there, this is why Anna and I have been together for 5 years, because we disagree so nicely sometimes. But you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader. We're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360, and around the world on the internet. Today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Don't go away. Anna and I will be right back.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm messy, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night at Concord Bridge in Trenton. for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and yours truly, Rick Trader. Great to have you with us today. If you'd like to hear rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our website, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. You could also hear rebroadcasts from your computer at 9 a.m. Log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net. And at 2 p.m., it's highplainsdailynews.com. You could also hear our show from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. You don't need an app. You don't need to download anything. But write that number down. Try it right now. Listen to our show from your phone. 832-999-1199. And a little. Anything else on your radar screen?
Well, that was pretty much it. I mean, I know we're facing a terrible enemy. I'm aware of the violence that is going on nationally. What I would call domestic violence rather than the terrorist violence. And I am troubled by that as well. And I wonder if our listeners couldn't put some thought to that. I mean, we obviously are in that situation. Mm-hmm. Can't turn back the clock, but we do have to do something about it because to allow it to continue in the way that it is and the disrespect for law enforcement to continue the way that it is, we are really asking for trouble. So I hope our listeners will put some thought to what we should do about this. I mean, we've had our Support the Police Days, our blue campaigns on social media, our rallies in favor of law enforcement. We've done all of that. It just seems to me that we need to help our youth and even the adults who are frustrated find a better way to let out those frustrations in a nonviolent manner, because that is the American way. We are a nonviolent people. And so what we've got to do is get away from this violent demonstration of your feelings or your frustration about a situation. I mean, I get that people are trapped in the inner city. I know it's our educational system that does that to them. And then it's obviously the lack of employment opportunities that follow the failure of the educational system. Mm-hmm. So I get the frustration. I feel it. But you can't express that violently and expect to go anywhere good. And you just can't send that message to your kids and your grandkids. So we've got to work on that because it really has taken over. And I'm seeing more and more violence in the news, non-terrorist violence here, domestic, within the United States. And we've got to work on that.
What type of violence are you referring to, Anna?
I'm talking talking about the average citizen who is being pursued by police for whatever infraction, demonstrating defiance, running away. I've seen video of young, usually men, but young people turning in defiance, being mistaken to have a gun or being accused of having a gun and being perceived to be ready to use it and then getting shot and maybe killed. But it's that defiance and that frustration and then the violent maneuvering that it's more violent when they have the weapon, obviously. But I have seen people in what are supposed to be peaceful demonstrations go nose to nose with riot police. I mean, what do you expect to happen? If you sneeze, they're going to think you're going for a gun. I mean, it's setting the stage for a crisis that's avoidable if we start to speak about it. And in this day and age with social media and photographs and videos available, if there's somebody, cop or not, if there's somebody misbehaving, you document it, you put it out there, and you drum up grassroots support, and then you take action legislatively or, if it's necessary, through the judicial system. But I think these face-to-face and individual confrontations with law enforcement are leading to a crisis situation that I hope will be avoidable. But I'm concerned.
Well, I agree with you with that, Anna. I think it is an epidemic. It is a new epidemic in this country. Do you remember after 9/11, the first responders, the police, the fire, they were held in the highest esteem. And for me, I believe I know who patient zero is to spread this epidemic. It started with Barack Obama, and it started when he came out and blamed the police of acting stupidly when that Harvard professor was questioned by the police when it looked like he was breaking into his house. Barack Obama came out and said the police were acting stupidly. I think it has escalated with the Trevor Martin events and the Freddie Gray events and the riots, and I agree with you, Anna. People are very frustrated on both sides, but I believe, as I said, Barack Obama is patient zero in this epidemic. He is the one who has stirred the flames.
I don't disagree.
He's the one that stirred the flames, and all these embers now are shooting from the fire. And these embers are jumping out and starting other fires on their own. Certainly he has not been the reasonable and the rash one to call for an end of this. No, he's escalated every time, Anna, there's a police shooting, an arrest. I saw a video the other day of a young girl standing in front of a cop screaming at him that because of Barack Obama, or thanks to Barack Obama, she does not have to listen to that police officer. Now that is a formula for disaster, Anna.
Yes, it is. I just think that we need to have that counter effort along social media, and then hopefully the main media grab it. But we need that counter effort that shows alternative ways to deal with that frustration. We can't just let it lie and point the finger at Barack Obama. We absolutely have got to squash it by showing the alternatives. Do we want to quickly go through guests? I know we only have a minute.
Oh, you know what? Let's do that real quickly. Let's do that real quickly. Yeah, sorry about that, Anna.
3:35. No, that's okay. 3:35. We're going to speak with Will Coggan, who's research director at Environmental Policy Alliance, and he's going to talk to us about the connection between our green or our fundamentally environmental fundamentalists and Russian. Shall we say Russian money laundering? That's the extreme part of it. But there could be Russian interests that are being benefited by the effect that these environmentalists have on energy production in the U.S. We're also at the 4:05 hour going to speak, or the half hour, going to speak with the Jennifer Burke, who's the co-founder and editor-in-chief for the Politistick. She's got other credentials, which we'll talk about when we introduce, but she's going to talk to us about the anti-God group that says Christians should stop praying because it offends ISIS. Well, that's a shocker. We're going to have to talk about that one.
All right.
And you've got a guest, right?
Yeah, at 4:35, we're going to be speaking with Melissa Hanson. She's the Director of Communications and Public Education for the Parents Television Council. Melissa will be joining us to talk about which TV sponsors have been naughty and which have been nice. And with that, Anna, you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philly, around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, AM FM 24/7, and a whole bunch others. Mr. John Forsyth Jr. working the boards for us today. Don't go away. Anna and I will be right back with our first guest, Will Coggin.
Yeah, that's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stocking. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. Drink my wine. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and yours truly, Rick Trader. You can hear rebroadcasts of our shows from our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. Log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com at 1 p.m., roarradio.net at 2 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. And Anna Little, we do have our first guest with us today. The honor of the introduction is yours. Take it away.
Okay, Rick. This segment, listeners, we're speaking with Will Coggin. Will Coggin is the research director at the Environmental Policy Alliance, our own EPA, which is devoted to uncovering the funding and hidden agendas behind environmental activist groups and exploring the intersection between activists and government agencies. It is supported by a variety of businesses and foundations, including those in the hospitality, agriculture, and energy industries. Will Coggin, welcome to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
I love this Environmental Policy Alliance, whose initials are none other than the EPA. I like this EPA. Tell us about it.
Oh, thanks. We like to call ourselves the good EPA. We're about promoting American jobs, not trying to kill them like the Obama EPA. And so, basically what our role is to serve as kind of an aggressive pushback to the radical agenda of these environmentalist groups like Greenpeace, the Sierra Club, or NRDC, who are out there every day just trying to think of new ways to harm American economy and, frankly, drive up energy prices for American consumers, which really harms everybody.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And you're on the show today because you want to talk a little bit about a connection between environmental activist groups and Russia. So tell us what you think that connection is and why.
So the connection is quite interesting. And, frankly, as I explained, just keep in mind that, we think this is entirely logical and we'd be surprised if it wasn't going on. So a few years ago, it turns out that there was this group, this company based in Bermuda that was giving money. It gave $23 million to an environmental group in San Francisco that's run by a very wealthy liberal who gives money in turn to all these different environmental groups. And so we did some digging. We said, what is this group in Bermuda that's dumping in tens of millions of dollars into the environmental movement? And this group appears to only exist on paper. And so we said, well, okay, let's do a little bit more digging. Who's behind this group? Where are they? And so it turns out that this this corporation that's funding the U.S. environmental movement. There's not much information on it, but it is based out of a law firm in Bermuda, a law firm that has strong ties to Russian energy investments, as well as a Russian money laundering investigation. And so we said to ourselves, hey, wait a second. These guys are tied very heavily to Russian money, and all of a sudden they have this really shady way of sending money to U.S. environmental movement. And we said, well, it's quite logical if you think about it, if that's what's going on, because the Russians, much like the U.S. environmental groups, they don't want to see the U.S. producing competitive energy that competes with Russian energy. And so we suspect, there's no smoking gun, but we suspect that essentially the Russians are using the U.S. environmental activists as useful idiots for their cause.
And the cause of the Russians being that they be superior to us in energy production, or at least that we not take their market, correct?
Exactly. I mean, the big energy boom that we've seen in the past few years where people have used fracking to get oil and produce a lot of oil in America, which has reduced prices for everybody, has really taken a bite out of Russia's economy as well as the government's funding, because they rely essentially on high oil prices. And so it's not just Russia. We've seen the Saudis kind of have a strategy as well to try to undermine the U.S. domestic energy production and try to drive the energy industry here, give them a hard time and drive them out of business as much as possible. And so it would be no surprise to us. And frankly, if you're a Russian guy, it's probably quite logical to do this, to try to get money to efforts in the U.S. to restrict energy production.
Well, I have a question for you, and I'm not sure that this is in the scope of your report here today, but it's something that I think you can probably speak to. I've said often that I believe energy independence in the United States is a matter of national security. So if we elevate energy independence to a level of national security, and we've got foreign dollars undermining the effort to become energy independent, well, does that mean we have to have those foreign dollars declared against national security interests? I mean, I know that there's regulation against the funding of candidates for political office by anyone outside the country. I know that much. But, I mean, if we're dealing with a matter of national security, does foreign money then become of interest, and should it be publicly disclosed?
It really ought to be, frankly. And you're right. I mean, just this instance right now shows us, with all this offshore money coming in to just this one environmental group in San Francisco, it says, this kind of is, to your point, an issue of national security. If foreign money can come in and we don't know who's behind it, and we don't hear, we just know, we have a little money trail here, and we have a lot of smoke, but we don't have any fire or smoking gun, it tells us that there has to be some kind of disclosure here so the public knows what the real source of this money is. And frankly, whether that's done through charity disclosures or other kinds of laws, I don't know. But certainly there needs to be some kind of investigation here to get to the bottom of what's really going on.
Well, now, your group, the Environmental Policy Alliance, the Good EPA, you've released a video that showed the means through which the Russian money may secretly be funding these U.S. environmental groups. Tell us about the video.
Sure. Well, it's one thing to put out a report that's, it's got a chart there in the report, and it's a fairly short report. It's about 6 pages. We wanted to keep it as short as possible just to make it more accessible to people. But the best way to explain something is just these days through a short video. And so the video is about 90 seconds long. Actually, I think 70 seconds. And if you go to YouTube and look for Environmental Policy Alliance, our group, you'll find the video there. And it's just a quick way to explain what's been going on, what we found, and what the motivations might be.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you've got that video out there, and I hope our listeners go and watch it. It's startling and troubling to me that we might have a foreign country steering our energy development through what are supposed to be domestically organized groups. That really is troubling to me.
It is. And to your earlier point, there's foreign money is not allowed to fund political campaigns. It's not allowed to go to politicians. But here, it's if you're funding advocacy campaigns, that's still a way. Essentially, it's a kind of a form of lobbying. It's a way to influence people's opinions, which in turn can influence policy. And so it's kind of a sneaky backdoor way, potentially, for to try to influence negatively what's going on with American jobs.
Well, I've often said that these environmental groups that are funded or subsidized by the government, they tend to get involved in support of candidates They try to do it as individuals, but, when the head of an organization, environmental organization, stands next to a liberal Democrat candidate and says, I, as an individual, endorse this person, or if they give them an award a couple weeks before, the election, or a month before the election, and they publicize it, that's pretty much getting involved. And so this is kind of scary business. We've got to go to a break to identify the station. Can you hold on for just 2 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. Listeners, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commando Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with CPR Worldwide Media, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. They are all.com. We'll be right back with you after this break. We're speaking with Will Coggin about the good EPA.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. Log on to the leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net. At 2 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. Our guest this segment is Will Coggin. Will is the research director at the Environmental Policy Alliance, the good EPA, as we've been calling it. And we're discussing a report and a video that they put out entitled From Russia with Love, examining links between U.S. environmental funder and the Kremlin. Well, thanks for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we've been doing.
Well, I think what you're doing is extremely important. That's why I invited you on our show today. Well, the importance of what the Russians is doing here is because their economy is basically floated on oil. Right now, being that oil is at an historically low price, looks like it's going to go lower through 2016. And the Russian economy is in a tank because of all this. Am I correct?
That's right. I mean, a lot of the budgets of these oil countries is dependent on the price of oil being at a certain level. And so when it's really cheap, as it is right now, thanks to, in large part, the success that we've had domestically at developing energy and getting towards energy independence, then that really freaks out these foreign countries.
Hey, well, and so we have Russian involvement funneling money into this environmental group. This money is coming here to the United States and in a nutshell, what is the purpose? What is this money, what is this funding trying to do? What is it doing here?
Well, these green groups in the United States, groups like the Sierra Club, they have a very radical agenda that basically says we want to ban coal, we want to ban fracking, we want to get rid of fossil fuels entirely.
Right.
And so, the Russians, of course, would say, great, if you got rid of the U.S.'s ability to domestically produce energy, then that's going to drive the price up, and it's going to make the U.S. reliant on other foreign sources of energy. And so people like Russia, and the same thing, people in the Middle East, too, are probably licking their chops at the idea of restrictions on energy production in the United States. And so, really, it's just a matter of both these foreign interests, like Russians, having the same kind of political interest that the U.S. environmental movement has. Their agenda is kind of crossed over here. And so that's what we're looking at, is we're saying, hey, look, there's allied interests here.
Mm-hmm.
The Russians could make a bunch of money off of funding the U.S. environmental movement, and here's a way that they might be doing it.
Well, do you see any connection or see this as a reason for Russia's involvement in Syria?
I'm not really an expert on what's going on in Syria right now, but
okay.
I would just say our reaction to Syria is that it's just evidence of Russian aggression. It's just a reminder that Russia's a very aggressive country, and so frankly, if they're so militaristically aggressive, it makes sense that they'd also be willing to be aggressive too in trying to sneak money into the U.S. to fund campaigns that would harm the U.S. economy and benefit Russia.
Well, I see precedent for this happening. Back in the 1980s, NATO wanted to put missiles into Europe and into Great Britain. And there was a group called the Women of Common Green, and who were constantly demonstrating against the deployment of these missiles. And later it came out that this group and others like it were supported and financed by the KBG. Now, by connection between that and what's going on here is the KBG, that Vladimir Putin was a member of the KBG at that time. He saw how effective that was by funneling money into these private groups that were protesting missiles going into Europe. And he's probably looking at it and say, we can do the same thing here. Will Coggin, you think I'm thinking too far outside the box?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, if you put yourself in the shoes of some Russian oil oligarch, you're losing money, and you have this very simple way to try to get your business back in the black. And it just says, hey, look, okay, makes perfect sense. I mean, it makes perfect sense. And so why not try to do it if you're one of these Russian guys? You already have ties to this law firm in Bermuda, and why not set up a shell company that then gives money to the environmental movement? I mean, it makes perfect sense when you think about it. The surprise really would be if they're not doing it. You mentioned NATO. You mentioned NATO a second ago. I mean, the NATO Secretary General came out last year and he said, I've met people who firsthand can tell me that the Russian government is behind disinformation campaigns targeting fracking. And there's been reports in Eastern Europe about Russians trying to mess around there with anti-fracking campaigns so that Europe remains dependent on Russian energy. And so if there's no reason that if Russia's being that aggressive in Europe, they wouldn't be so aggressive in the United States as well.
Yeah, and so that brings me back. This is, Anna Will again. It brings me back to that whole national security situation. Look, if we're dependent on foreign oil, and we can't produce enough energy to keep our economy operating, and, the world's on fire these days. I mean, we've got all kinds of chaos brewing in the Middle East, which now spills over into Europe. Now, maybe we'll push it back successfully, but it's not great when you've got 2 terraplots that have been successful in Paris. I mean, that's scary business. If we're not independent and we have to rely on these foreign energy sources, and Russia and Iran are friendly, Russia is involved in Syria now, not necessarily doing the same or having the same goals as the United States of America. I mean, it's scary business to me. I think we've got to start looking at this as more than just a curiosity and an eyebrow raiser. It could very well be dangerous, I think, to our economy and perhaps national security. Your thoughts on that?
I certainly agree. And frankly, since Republicans control Congress, they ought to be holding hearings on this kind of thing about foreign money potentially coming into groups like environmental groups where the advocacy can harm American economy, and seeing if foreign money is indeed coming in. And if so, to what extent?
A lot of those Republicans in Congress have been guests here on Conservative Commando's radio show. Maybe they heard you, and maybe they'll do that.
Hey, can I just jump in for a minute? Will, have you seen any connection between we have reported, as Anna has said, we've reported here on the Conservative Commandos radio show before about the Russians and Hillary Clinton, how tight the Clintons are with the Russians. And does your group, and again, I know I'm thinking outside the box here, but have you been able to find any connection between this Russian money going into the Clinton foundations?
No, we haven't actually. Although we haven't, to my knowledge, I don't think we've looked. So I couldn't really give you an answer one way or the other.
Well, how do you stop this foreign money?
Well, first off, you gotta root it out and see where it is, where it's coming in from, and how much of it is, and then really it's probably exposure. Frankly, what's the phrase? Sunlight is the best disinfectant. They're being sneaky. If they're using offshore shell companies to send money in, they're being sneaky about it for a reason. They're trying to hide the funders. And so really it takes some investigation, some subpoenas, calling people under oath to testify about this kind of stuff, but you got to get to the bottom of it, and frankly, exposure is how you get rid of it.
Well, how much money are we talking here?
Well, this one group alone, this Bermuda Shell Corporation, sent $23 million to this environmental group in San Francisco, this group that then funds other environmental groups.
$23 million? Wow.
Yeah.
You don't know how difficult it is for nonprofit groups to raise money, and to have somebody just dump $23 million on their head. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. It helps to have a mysterious sugar daddy.
Yeah. Hey, Will Coggin, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on the Conservative Commandos radio show. How can people see the video, read the report, find out more about the Environmental Policy Alliance?
Well, go to our website, which is environmentalpolicyalliance.org, and you can find everything there.
Will Coggin, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care, God bless, and Merry Christmas.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. And with that, Anna, we'll go to our break. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philly, around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, AM/FM 24/7, and a whole bunch others. After the break, we're going to be speaking with Jennifer Burke, editor-in-chief for the Politistic. Be right back.
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired as I am about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Rick Trader and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network, and ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, 1 p.m., roarradio.net, and 6 p.m., thepunditpress.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest is with us, Jennifer Burke, co-founder and editor-in-chief for the Politistick. We want you to check out her Facebook page at Politistick and to like that Facebook page. We also want you to check out their website at politistick.com. Now, Jennifer has been a certified teacher with 12 years' experience in the classroom. She attended what is credited for being the first modern-day Tea Party rally in the country, in the Seattle area, and from there, she emerged as a powerful speaker and writer within the movement. She was selected to be a member of the second graduating class of the Jennifer Dunn Leadership Institute, a program which identified future conservative leaders, and she's worked as National Outreach Director for one of the largest conservative groups in the country and served as managing editor and writer for what quickly grew to become one of the top 15 conservative sites in the country. She brings to the Politistick a passion for the fight for freedom for current and future generations. Jennifer Burke, welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thanks for having me back on the show again.
Well, this subject of which you want to speak has me pretty incensed. Now, you're saying that there is an anti-God group that says Christians should stop praying because it offends ISIS? Tell us about this.
Yeah, and they really were pointing specifically to the Air Force Academy. The academies have football teams. They play each other. They play other big-name teams and everything. And like many people, there are lots of professional football teams where the players gather in prayer following the end of the game. Players from opposing teams will get together following the end of the game. Well, the Air Force Academy's football players pray on the field together. And the Military Religious Freedom Foundation is upset over this, and they said it's a putrid example of fundamentalist Christian supremacy, triumphalism, and exceptionalism, and it has to stop. They said that seeing these Air Force Academy cadets in football uniform praying on the field could inspire ISIS. And let me just say, in case you're not aware of this, I don't know if you know this, but Time Magazine has released their Person of the Year. And while their first choice for Person of the Year was Angela Merkel from Germany, their second choice for the runner-up for Person of the Year was al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS. So do these people want me to believe that type of thing would not serve as a recruiting tool for ISIS, but watching football players pray on the field would?
Okay, I warned you that I'm incensed over this. ISIS, let's just remind ourselves who ISIS is. Isn't this the same group that has declared war on the United States, on Israel, pretty much against the Western world? Is this the same group, ISIS? I think it is.
Right. It's the same group. It's interesting. Obama, in his recent speech, now he's trying to backtrack and make everybody forget that he laughingly referred to ISIS as a JV team, inconsequential, like a JV team putting on a Kobe Bryant jersey doesn't make them that good. And look at all that they have done throughout the world, even taking credit for the terrorist attack in San Bernardino, California, because those two people pledged their allegiance to ISIS, and they were followers of ISIS.
Okay, but we've got a declared enemy, the United States and the entire Western world, and we are talking about a U.S. Air Force Academy football team, and that team is supposed to be concerned about offending its declared enemy.
Exactly, about defending people who, it doesn't matter if they bow their knees in prayer on the football field.
So World War II, enemy is Germany, or enemy is Japan, okay? Are we worried about offending them while we're at war? No, right? So why are we worried about offending ISIS when they have declared war on us? And this is our military we're talking about.
Right. It's baffling. I have absolutely no idea. Sadly, the Air Force Academy officials said that they didn't say they're going to stop, and they didn't say they'd continue. They said they would look into it. They shouldn't even be saying that they would look into it. Are those players now stripped of their First Amendment rights because some atheistic group says that they shouldn't be praying?
Well, I want to talk about this atheistic group. They're calling themselves the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. That's a misnomer because they don't want religious freedom. They want the absence of religion. And we have allowed this misnomer to go on for too long. People who, under the label of providing religious freedom, have tried to separate church and state, take God out of schools, now take God out of the military, and they're trying to say this is religious freedom. This is religious oppression. Religious freedom allows an individual, no matter what their religion is, to practice that religion freely. That's religious freedom. Am I correct?
Right. No, you are correct. I mean, at least the Freedom from Religion Foundation is honest about their goal and objective, which basically we never see these groups go after any other religious group but Christians. They have a beef. They have an axe to grind with Christianity. They don't like it. They think it should be ostracized, and they think Christians should just shut up. I guarantee you they would not be taking the stance against Muslims or any other religion because they never have.
Yeah, but I've got to tell you this. I think the reason they focus on Christianity is because of the popularity of Christianity. And if they're able to attack a very popular religion, then they get more notoriety for doing so. I mean, it could be that their ideology is the motivation, but I think there's much more sensationalism when they target Christ than if they target any other religious figure. They're not targeting Buddha here. They're targeting Christ.
Right.
And Christ's followers tend to stand up for him. And there's an awful lot of press that gets involved. So I think what's happening is this MRSS. I'm not even going to say what those initials stand for because it's completely the opposite of what it truly is. This atheistic group is trying to get some press, and they've obviously succeeded in doing that.
Right. You know, and the hope is just that the Air Force Academy stands up. I mean, for goodness sake, they're training men and women to fight for everything that's made America great, fight for our Constitution and our freedoms. They should not have the very things that they will risk their lives for upon graduation from the academy stripped away from them because some atheist group thinks they shouldn't be able to pray.
Absolutely. Freedom isn't free. These men and women fight so that you and I can get on our knees and worship our God every day without government oppression. And here we are going to tolerate an atheistic group oppressing the religious expression of the very men who have fought for our freedom to express our religion. I think that's un-American, and it can't be tolerated.
Right. It agreed. It's just interesting the push for religious freedom. I mean, it's the left likes to talk about it when it's convenient, but in reality, we've seen so many instances of Christians, even by the federal government, being stripped of their religious freedom, targeted and attacked by their own government, which is why I think it's laughable. People now talking about religious freedom when, for years, when you have the federal government suing Catholic nuns, trying to force them to provide things that completely go against the vows that they took in their religion and their faith, there's a problem. And we've just seen this exacerbated. I think these atheistic groups in the time of Obama's tenure as president have just been out of control with suing this city and that city. Places, they don't even have anyone that lives there. It's like they catch wind of something that's being erected in the city or something that's going on, like the coach in Washington State, Joe Kennedy. He's been under attack. He prayed himself, and players over the years just started joining him voluntarily. But, for people like this atheistic group, they can't even voluntarily pray. I mean, the man and the school district unfortunately caved, and the man was put on administrative leave. Coach Kennedy was put on administrative leave. What kind of signal? What does that signal? And it's a dangerous times for Christians in Obama's America right now because they're getting attacked on so many various levels.
Well, we just can't tolerate it. We have to stand up for our military here on domestic soil among these kinds of it's an effort at oppressing their religious freedom. We need to stand up for them, and our efforts will pale in comparison to what they've done for us. So, and with that, right. I have to take us to break. Can you just hold on for 2 minutes while we identify the station? Thank you so much. Listeners, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with CPR Worldwide Media, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. Anna Little and Rick Trader will be right back with you on Conservative Commandos after the break. We'll be speaking with Jennifer Burke.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our website, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. You could also hear rebroadcasts from your computer by logging on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com at 9 a.m. in the morning. At 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net, or at 2 p.m., log on to highplainsdailynews.com. Our guest this segment is Jennifer Burke. She's the co-founder and editor-in-chief for The Politistic, and we're discussing an anti-God group. Christians should stop praying because it offends ISIS. Well, it offends me, Jennifer Burke. This whole idea offends me. What about me? What about my rights? What about my feelings?
You know, unfortunately, we've seen Christians be the punching bag in America for all kinds of people, including the federal government, in the last 7 years, and it's somehow become okay. These atheist groups have been ramping up their attacks on Christianity, and they've probably been inspired by the lawsuits that have been levied upon Christian businesses by federal government, by state government, the boycotting and destruction of Christian businesses. It really is out of control. But I will tell you one thing, and I don't know the exact city. I saw this story come across a little bit ago and haven't had a chance to look at it. But, you know, it's Christmas season, and so this is one of the things that brings the atheists out of the woodwork.
Right.
And there was an atheist group in a city who demanded that a nativity scene be taken down. And the city caved, and the scene was taken down, and residents responded. And my guess is that people must have put them in their yards, because in place of that one, hundreds of nativity scenes have been put up throughout the city. And that is the way that Christians need to respond to this incessant attack on Christianity in this country.
Well, Jennifer, I think that in addition to putting up nativities on their own homes, I think they need to be more vocal. I really do, Jennifer. I think that we have got to fight for our rights. Just as we have people fighting against us to take our rights from us, we need to be just as vocal, just as active, and just as litigious to enforce and to ensure our rights. Jennifer, you mentioned Joe Kennedy, the assistant football coach in Bremerton, Washington. You're from Washington, right, Jennifer?
Yeah, I lived there for quite some time.
Right. Okay, that he was an assistant football coach, and you and Anna were talking about this. After games, he went out on his own onto the field and said prayer. Players from both teams would join him. It wasn't organized. It was just a spontaneous thing. The school districts stopped him, or told him he had to stop, and if he didn't, he would be suspended, which he was. But Jennifer, in my opinion, where the problem is, like with the school districts, they're afraid to be sued. And that's why they do it.
I don't know. You know, Joe Kennedy had been doing that for years.
Right.
For years, and all of a sudden, there's something wrong with it, because some, outsider decided to complain, and good for those football players. They continued to meet even after Joe Kennedy was suspended. I mean, to have people from opposing teams come in. I mean, we see this happen all the time.
Yeah.
With the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson, gathers people and they pray together, people from both teams. No one's forced to go over there, but those for whom their faith is important. And with Joe Kennedy, it wasn't even just Christians. It was people of various faiths that got together, being thankful for a safe game and praying for those that might have been injured. What kind of message does that send? That coming together in brotherhood, and Joe Kennedy never said you can only come and pray with me if you're Christian. He had people of various faiths that would come and stand there voluntarily with him. For those kids to be told that that's wrong.
Jennifer, you talk about a message sent. I'll tell you about a message sent. Our founding fathers never started a meeting without a prayer. To me, that's the message that should be sent. But Jennifer, I wanted to talk with you for a minute about this former Air Force officer. I think we need to call these people out. This former Air Force officer, Michael Weinstein, president and founder of the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. He said that several of the Air Force Academy players approached his group claiming that they were forced into prayers for fear of punishment. Is there any proof of that these players were forced or pressured into praying for fear of punishment? Any evidence at all?
I haven't seen any evidence of that at all. And if I would seriously doubt that is the case. Given the fact that the name of his organization is the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, and it's a complete perversion of what he actually does. Yeah. I don't really put, without any hard proof, I don't really put a whole lot of stock in what he says is true.
I would like to know about him. I'd like to know his background. I'd like to know if he's another John Kerry who was in the military, despised the military, threw his medals in the river. I'd like to know more about this Military Religious Freedom Foundation. Who's backing them? Jennifer, any evidence that possibly they're backed by the ACLU or groups like that, Freedom from Religion Foundation or anything?
I don't know if they're backed by them, but all these groups, do, whether they're working in concert with each other or not, they all do the same thing. They all constantly do the same thing. They attack Christianity. They don't attack any other religion. It is constantly an attack on Christianity all the time. It's like they scour the United States to see what's going on, to determine, okay, let's jump in here and squash Christianity in this community. And that's what they all do.
Yeah, and also, Anna and Jennifer, elections have consequences. The dangerous part is these groups go judge shopping, looking for a sympathetic judge to bring their case to. So this Military Religious Freedom Foundation, this Michael Weinstein, might be a group of one, but if they can get one stinking judge to go along with them, we all lose our rights.
No, exactly, and not even just judges. I mean, just looking at the loss of rights. I mean, Loretta Lynch. On the one hand, you have the FBI in regards to the terror attack in San Bernardino, encouraging people, if you see anything that you think is suspicious, call this 800 number, because neighbors witnessed suspicious activity, but they were say anything. And what did Loretta Lynch say? If I don't like what you have to say about some suspicious activity going on regarding a Muslim such as Saeed Farouk, I will prosecute you.
Hey, Jennifer, I'm looking at a picture right now of the Air Force Academy players on their knees in prayer. And it seems to me, this picture that I'm looking at, there's about 8 or 9 of them. I don't see how 8 or 9 of them are imposing their will on the rest of the teammates. Hey, Jennifer, we got to run in a minute. Jennifer Burke, co-founder, editor-in-chief for the Politistic. Jennifer, please tell us a little bit about Politistic and how people can find out more about you and the work that you guys do.
Yeah, Politistic, we're a conservative news and commentary website. We are upfront about the fact that we will support anyone and anything that stands by the Constitution and to protect the freedom of Americans. We don't care which party you're with. If you go against that, we'll call you out on it. You can find us online at politistic.com. That's POLITI stick.com. And on Facebook at facebook.com/politistic. POLITI stick.
Jennifer Burke, I want to thank you so much. I think we need to fight back, Jennifer. We need to be more vocal. We Christians need to be more vocal, more active. Just my thought. But I want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care. God bless. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
And we are going to take a break. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Rick Trader and Anna Little. I'm going to say Sharon Angle. When Sharon's thinking of me, I'm thinking of her. And if you'd like to hear rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Boy, I messed that one up. See what happens when I get excited. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Melissa Hanson, Director of Communications and Public Education for the Parents Television Council. Let's find out what company's been naughty, what company's been nice, who we should support with our spending dollars. We'll be right back.
Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
This This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Or in the mornings at 9 a.m., you can log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. Or at 2 p.m., log on to thepunditpress.com. You can also hear our show from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest is Melissa Hanson. She's the Director of Communications and Public Education for the Parents Television Council. Melissa communicates the mission and message of the PTC to the American public. Melissa has appeared on a variety of shows on Fox, The O'Reilly Factor, Neil Cavuto, CNN, NBC, CS, NBC, and all the other alphabet networks. You need to listen to her, actually. And she's been quoted extensively in news sources such as Entertainment Weekly, Time, Newsweek, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and many other places. Melissa, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Thanks for having me back on.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate the work that the Parents Television Council does. In fact, why don't we start there? Tell our audience a little bit about the Parents Television Council.
Sure. The Parents Television Council is a nonprofit, nonpartisan media watchdog organization. We are about 20 years old, and our mission is to restore responsibility to the entertainment industry, which is definitely an uphill battle, but it's a battle that we're fighting every day. And I say to people say to us all the time, well, there's still a lot of trash on TV, so what difference are you all making? And I say to folks, there's no telling how bad TV would be if there weren't organizations like the PTC out there doing what we're doing, because we're trying our hardest to keep things at bay. But it's like a David and Goliath kind of situation. We're up against a multi-billion-dollar industry. But I think we are making a difference. But we need people to be engaged. We need people to get involved, and so that's where your listeners, your audience, comes in.
All right, we've asked you to join us today to discuss your which TV sponsors have been naughty and which have been nice. And the Parents Television Council announced the companies that have been that it shows for its annual Best Worst Advertisers list. Tell us a little bit about the list, Melissa.
Yeah, so the list is compiled based only on TV advertising behavior, TV sponsorship behavior. We've had people come to us and say, well, you included such and such company that does this thing that I don't like. But we're really not looking at any criteria other than where they're spending their advertising dollars. Mm-hmm. So what we do annually is we try to find companies that are competitors, more or less, or at least in somewhat the same industry, so that we can show people that they have an alternative. Instead of buying from X company that's sponsoring a lot of the trash on TV that you don't want to see, you can buy instead from Y company that's trying to do the right thing. And what we have seen is that there are, often within the same industry, very definite patterns of behavior. So you have a company like Walmart, for example, or Procter & Gamble, that really do seem to go out of their way, not only to avoid the programs with the really negative, harmful content, but they seem to be making a genuine effort to seek out and support the programs whose values we support, we applaud, that reinforce positive values that parents are trying to instill in their children. On the other side of the equation, though, there are also companies like Yum Brands or Burger King that almost seem to be going out of their way to find the very worst stuff on TV that they can put their ad dollars behind. Red Bull is another one. You know, if there's a show that has controversial content or problematic content, 9 times out of 10 you're going to find one of those companies on there.
Interesting. You mentioned Red Bull, Yum, as a couple of the worst offenders. Can you give us an example of what kind of programming they have sponsored?
Yeah, well, for example, what we have seen is this past television season, they've been on American Horror Story. They've been on Scream Queens, programs like that, shows with just really horrific violence or very explicit sexual content. And as I say, if you find a show on TV that has really harmful, negative, salacious, or graphic or extreme content of any kind, it's usually the case that one of those companies is going to be on there.
You know, Melissa, since I started the Conservative Commandos 5 years ago, I've been constantly talking about how we consumers, how we conservative consumers have got to use our dollars to, hey, let's take a little advice from that good old guy Barack Obama. Let's use our dollars to reward our friends and to punish our enemies. Have we at Conservative Commandos and you at the Parents Television Council, have we been making an effect?
I think so. And as I say, there are some companies that are just sort of unwilling to budge. But, you know, frankly, those companies that are unwilling to budge are not the ones that are at the top of their industry. You know, they're losing to competitors that are trying to do the right thing. In, you know, head-to-head comparison, you take a brand like a company like Wendy's. Wendy's is doing better right now than Burger King in terms of same-store sales, in terms of profit margins, and all the other criteria that you might use to judge a fast food restaurant. Wendy's is doing better than Burger King, and Wendy's is also being a more responsible advertiser. Or look in, at the companies like Walmart versus Target, or Procter & Gamble versus Unilever. In each of those cases, the company that's doing the right thing, the companies that are being more responsible, are generally also being more profitable.
Hey, Melissa, before we go to break, and I hope you can stay 2 minutes through the break, I want to talk to you for a minute about insurance companies. You have here on the best list, you have Prudential. On the worst list, you have Nationwide. What separated those two companies? What kind of program did Prudential sponsor where you feel was good, wholesome television versus Nationwide?
Well, sometimes it's not necessarily a case where one company is on, all green light shows, for example, or all family-friendly shows. Sometimes it's simply a matter that when we do contact them about buying time on a show that we feel is negative or harmful in some way, they are probably more willing to respond, to contact us and say, you're right, that's not a good fit for our brand, that doesn't reflect well on us. We're going to change our advertising behavior. We're going to pull out of that show. So, and that is true for several of the companies on our best list. It's not necessarily that they were on all good shows or all family-friendly shows. It is often the case that they are just more willing to review and revisit their advertising behavior, and that's usually not the case with the shows on or the companies on our worst list.
Hey, Melissa, we got to take a quick break. We went a little long. Could you hang with us for just 2 minutes, please?
Sure.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philly, around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, AM/FM 24/7, and a bunch of others. Our guest this segment is Melissa Henson. She's the Director of Communications and Public Education for the Parents Television Council. Anna and I will be right back with our guest.
They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little, and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, always check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Or at 9 a.m. Eastern, log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net. At 2 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. Our guest this segment is Melissa Henson. She's the Director of Communications and Public Education for the Parents Television Council, and we're discussing which TV sponsors have been naughty and which have been nice. Melissa, thanks for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
No problem.
Melissa, we've been talking about companies, in particular industries, that have been doing the right thing. We were talking a little bit about insurance companies. Prudential is on the best list. Nationwide is on the worst list. But I also wanted to talk with you for a minute about individual TV spots.
Yeah.
And what I'm thinking about is another insurance company, State Farm. They've been running an ad this past year, a young family. A man promises first he's never going to get married, then he does. He's never going to move to the suburbs, but he does. He's never going to have kids, but he does. The last scene is he, his wife, his children are on the couch, and he says, "I'm never letting go." You know what commercial I'm referring to?
Well, frankly, I've got a young son, and I'm usually working on homework with him during prime time, so I don't get to watch an awful lot of live TV today, so I haven't seen that particular ad.
Well, what I'm getting at is I think this shows the value and the meaning of family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how this young man has changed. First, he was never getting married, then he was never going to have kids, and now there he is with his wife and his 2 children on a couch, and he says, "I'm never going to let go." I don't know.
That's great. Yeah.
So, can we also make can we make a difference? Can we make an influence on the commercials themselves, not just the types of shows that these companies advertise on?
Yeah, I think we can. And I think that we have seen a few instances in the past where a company ran an ad that really just hit all the wrong notes. It really, offended their consumers. And companies, they can't afford to do that. They can't afford to offend their consumers because, those are the people they need to sell to, either their products or their services. They can't afford to be offensive or be too offensive in their advertisements. And in fact, there was a study that was done this past summer. It was published in a scientific journal. It was the study was done by Ohio State University, and they found that advertisements that contain sexual content or violence don't perform as well as advertisements that are more family friendly. And moreover, advertisements that run on programs that contain sexual content or violence don't perform as well for the company that's advertising. So it's in the company's best interest not only to sponsor wholesome programs, but also to be wholesome themselves in the content of the advertisements. Because the more salacious content you associate with, or the more salacious content you insert into the advertisement, the less likely it is that people will actually remember what it is you're trying to sell to them. They're more likely to remember the content, the product, or the ad that runs during the show. So it's actually in the advertiser's best interest to adopt a family-friendly ad strategy.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we're speaking with Melissa Henson, Director of Communications and Public Education for the Parents Television Council, and we're discussing a list that is put out by the PTC, which TV sponsors have been naughty and which have been nice. Anna Little, I want to bring you into this conversation. I'm not a parent. You are. My gosh, it must be a constant battle with your children as far as what kind of programming to watch.
Well, you're right, Rick. It is, because especially in this day of social media and smartphones, there's just so much content out there, and it's so very difficult for parents to filter. Sure, at a very young age, you don't put the phone in the child's hand, You put the nanny programming on your computer or on your television so that that kind of stuff doesn't get through. But the older the children get and the more adept they get at technology, the less control you have. Put that together with the length of time they spend with peers and educators who may or may not espouse the same opinions and values that you do in your home, it becomes very, very difficult. But I will say this, and I hope that this gives encouragement to parents. Speak your mind. Everyone else is so doing. And if it comes to it, your children will remember. Whether they agree with you or not at the moment is less important than what they remember down the road when it's their turn to be an adult and be a parent. And I think that we've had some success in my household. I'm not going to tell you that all three of my now adult children, I mean, the last one's just barely an adult, but they don't always agree with me, but they know exactly what mother thinks. And they know what to say in front of me and what not to say in front of me, because if they say something I don't agree with, I'm going to open my mouth and they're going to have to listen. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I would encourage every parent out there to, yes, go ahead and reward the good businesses that give your values in their advertising and that stand up for family values generally in the way that they do business. But it also speak your mind to your children, because they are already getting so much input from everybody else. They deserve to get some from you.
Yeah. Hey, Melissa Hanson, what about giving input to these companies? What's the best way for a consumer to do that other than not doing business with the company who violates good television practices?
Well, I think there's still value to writing to the companies, whether sending an email or sending a letter through the post service, or we have social media tools now that enable us to communicate directly to the company. There is tremendous value in that because they don't want to look bad. They certainly don't want to look bad on social media. So if you see them doing something that you think is wrong or inappropriate and you call them out for it on social media, or you send a letter to the desk of the CEO, it's entirely possible that the person that's running the company has no idea what the ad sales team is doing. They may not even do their ad placements in-house. They may contract with media buyers who are putting the company's ads on shows that the company would never want to be associated with. So there is value in writing to those companies and letting them know where you saw their ads, what you saw, what you found disturbing about it. And quite often just one letter that ends up on the right desk is all it takes to make a difference.
All right. Melissa Hanson, Director of Communications and Public Education for the Parents Television Council. We've been talking about the Naughty Nice list. Melissa, tell our audience where they could go to find out about these companies and also to see them on the Naughty Nice list. Yeah, you can visit us online at parentstv.org.
You can also get contact information for most of those companies on our website, parentstv.org. You can also follow us on social media. Look for us on Facebook and Twitter. Just look for the Parents Television Council official page.
Well, Melissa, I think what you're doing is great. We need watchdogs like the Parents Television Council. We really do. Just think of what television would look like without places like Conservative Commandos, Parents Television Council, and our listeners out there. Our listeners, our readers, our watchers out there who are the ones that actually make the big difference, right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care. God bless.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Yes, and you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Anna, we got about 1 minute left. Final thoughts?
Yeah, we're in charge, everybody. And I say that every show. But, when it comes to your values, when it comes to, protecting your government, you need to stand up. If you don't do that legwork, then obviously it's the liberals that take over. And we've got to watch Russia and that funding. That really disturbed me.
Yeah, again, as I was mentioning to Will Coggin, that this is something that Russia and the Soviet Union has done in the past to influence public opinion. And I encourage our listeners to Google women on the Common Green when we were trying to put missiles into Europe, and this group just sprung out of nowhere protesting. And this inspired it and funded by the KBG. And here you got Putin basically doing the same thing, only with oil this time.
Yep, that's right. So, Energy independence, folks.
Amen to that. I want to thank our guests today, Will Coggin, Jennifer Burke, our most recent guest, Melissa Hanson. Want to thank Mr. John Forsythe Jr. for working the boards. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. See you tomorrow on the radio.
WNJC, Washington Township, Philadelphia. Philadelphia's Renaissance radio station. Brought to you from Forsyth Broadcasting. Or listen to us at WNJCradio.com.